Lesson 11 in Code.org is a really important step in your progress toward building your own game, and that is animations, the draw loop. Okay, definitely watch Code.org's video about the draw loop. My video is intended to go alongside the lessons, so you can watch me and pause me after each bubble. I'm just going to give little minimal explanations and tips for some of these. So the basic idea here is that we've got this function, draw, and you'll notice this is how we create a function in JavaScript. They're kind of sneaking that up on you in Code.org. And what happens when I run it is anything inside the draw function, this ellipse, that keeps getting ran. The draw function keeps getting called 60 times a second, or maybe it's 30, I forget. But the draw function is special. Normally when you make a function, you have to call it yourself, but the draw function is a special function that the Code.org environment looks for, and when it sees that there is a draw function there, it will call it 30 times a second, and that's the frame rate. Okay, so what you see happening here is it keeps drawing new ellipses at a random x and a random y. So that's a first example of an animation. Over on Bubble 4, they ask us to edit this a little bit. Okay, we've got some green ellipses filling the screen. Now, what can we do to add some yellow ellipses as well? Okay. Now, one thing I need you to note is that you can put stuff outside of the draw loop, just like before. How fast can he type, ladies and gentlemen? But if you do that, it won't get repeated. So you see I put in a yellow, actually I'm going to go with orange. I put in an orange circle, but that's the only one that happens. If you want something to repeat, it's got to go inside of the draw loop. Okay. If I put just that ellipse down in there, that's not going to work yet either. Why are they only green? Well, because I didn't put the fill orange inside of there. Okay. So there you go. We're changing the color to green, make a circle, change the color to orange, make a circle, go back to the beginning, change the color back to green, make another circle, change to orange, make another circle, go back again. The draw loop is an infinite loop. Okay, the animation loop, it never ends. So there's the basics. When you get to step 5, they say there's one small difference, and I want to note that it's a little confusing because they made several changes in here. What you want to look at is they put the background inside the draw loop. What does that do? Run it and see for yourself. Then up on Bubble 6, here's where we start learning how to change things about sprites in the draw loop. So you see here we've got a sprite, and the sprite wiggles forever. And that's because we keep changing the rotation of the sprite. Okay. Now, do you want the creation of the sprite to go in the draw loop? Almost never. No, we don't want to recreate a new variable 30 times a second and recreate that new sprite. No. Do we want to reset the animation to an alien 30 times a second? Well, no. We only need to set it to an alien once, and it'll stay an alien. Okay. Out of curiosity, I'm going to comment this out. And then we get a rectangle. No animation. I just wanted to see if the rectangle would wiggle as well. And it does. That's pretty cool. What about the background? What if I move the background out so that we only draw the background once? Then we get this kind of blurring over. You see, if you figured out Bubble 5 correctly, then you learned that when you have the background outside of the draw loop, whatever gets drawn inside of here gets left on the screen. And when you're animating a sprite, you generally don't want that to happen. You don't want the old frames to stay on the screen. You want each time through the loop, when you get to the next frame, you want the other previous frame to be overwritten, and that's why we need that background in there. draw sprites, you got to redraw them every time through the loop, right? If I pull that outside of the draw loop, then it doesn't draw them. In fact, it never gets down to draw sprites because it's just looping through the draw loop infinitely. Okay? So, some things to be aware of as you get into more complicated scenes. Bubble 8. I think you probably need a clue on this one a little, especially letter C. This one's tricky. I will tell you that it has something to do with the background again. That was supposed to be a comment. There we go. So here's another example where the animation, it starts, but then it just stops all of a sudden. What is going on? It is something to do with the background. That's your clue. Then once you get to bubble 9, same sort of stuff that I've been talking about. Here's the lesson where they finally take all the training wheels off and they ask you to put your own draw loop in there. You can drag a block in if you want, or you can type it, but you really need to decide what of this code needs to go inside of here and what should stay out. Be very careful about that. If you understand that really well, that'll make this last challenge really fun. You get to take the scene that you built in the last lesson and add your own little animation to that. So have fun.